one-year working visa is easier to issue than those with a 3-year or 5-year term visa. Also, there are cases where a one-year visa is issued even if one initially got a 3-year visa. This happens when you fail to meet the performance obligations, or you keep changing jobs, or other unstable conditions where the Immigration Bureau feels the need to evaluate your situation again. So, when is the best time to apply for the work visa renewal or extension? It is recommended to file in your work visa renewal 3 months before your visa expires. Hello everyone, this is Cam from Swimmy channel. So how are all of you doing today? For today's video, we shall be talking extensively about the working visa in Japan, what you should do when applying for the first time, when renewing, or even steps to take when switching between companies or industry. I understand that Japan now is trying to attract more people to come to this country, so knowing about these kinds of things is important. A working visa's period of stay is usually 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. There are many conditions you should meet with regards to the duration of your working visa, which we shall be explaining today. So please watch this video until the end. The 1-year work visa is issued to people who meet the following conditions. So first is that the work contract is from 1 year or less. Second is that the person works for a company that falls under Category 4, which is the lowest rank. Third is when the Immigration Bureau feels that there is a need to reevaluate the foreigner status again. And lastly, a downgrade from a 3-year work visa is possible, especially when you fail to meet social obligations like sending your child to school. Although the 1-year period is the shortest duration provided, it is however possible to still get a less than a year visa for 3 months or 6 months. This is because many people can enter the country without a visa for short stays, such as 90 and 180 days. If you have a working period of 3 months or more, a 1-year working visa is basically issued. In simple terms, 1-year working visa is easier to issue than those with a 3-year or 5-year term visa. People who have been working for less than a year and do not need to be in Japan for more than a year, as well as those who are joining a company whose workplace falls under Category 4 by the Immigration Bureau, can only get a 1-year visa. Newly established companies and companies that have not yet submitted their legal tax records to the office, such as sole proprietors or those who have yet to prove their credibility to the government, fall under Category 4, the lowest rank category. It's basically a small company. Also, there are cases where a 1-year visa is issued even if one initially got a 3-year visa. This happens when you fail to meet the performance obligations, or you keep changing jobs, or other unstable conditions where the Immigration Bureau feels the need to evaluate your situation again. So the 3-year work visa is issued to those who meet the following conditions. So first, the longer work contract term is from 1 to 3 years but does not fully satisfy the conditions of a 5-year work visa. Second, does not meet the other conditions stated by the Immigration Bureau. And lastly, a downgrade from a 5-year visa is also possible for failing to meet social obligations, like, again, sending a child to school, for example. So the 3-year working visa is issued to those who are more reliable than those with a 1-year working visa, but not as entirely good as those with a 5-year working visa. Even if your company belongs to a higher category of reliability, or more or less a large-size company, in most cases, you can get a 3-year working visa if you work in Japan for less than 3 years. If you have a 5-year visa but fail to meet your social obligations, for example, not letting a young child from primary to middle school to attend their school, it is also possible to be downgraded to a 3-year visa as a penalty upon renewal. So a 5-year work visa is issued to individuals who meet the following conditions. So first, has a work contract of 3 years and up. Second, a person belonging to a highly skilled professionals category 1 or 2. Third, individuals who have lived in Japan for a long time, are reliable, and have gained the trust of the Immigration Bureau. And lastly, in case of a child present, this person meets social obligations. For example, you finally send your child to school. A 5-year work visa is basically issued to those who have a high level of credibility in their workplace, and those who have not neglected their obligations in Japan. Those who have a high level of Japanese language proficiency, A good academic background such as a college or university degree and stable income can immediately obtain a 5-year or indefinite period of stay when they acquire a highly professional visa Category 1 or highly professional visa Category 2. Those who have a fixed work period of 3 years or more at the time of entry are also eligible for a 5-year work visa. In addition, even if you work for a large company, classified under Category 1 or 2, you may be immediately issued a 5-year visa upon entry to Japan or upon change of resident status. An individual's ability and the size of the company they work for and other conditions can be overlooked so long as the person has met the highly reliable person and having stayed in Japan for many years condition. Even if you only have a short-term working visa but have stayed in Japan without any issues, it is possible to be granted a 5-year visa once you have gained the full trust of the Immigration Bureau. Now let's take a look at how to apply for a working visa and also the processing time frame. So first, you have to check your work visa application requirements. A visa will not be issued if there are any lacking documents, so always check and double check your documents before submitting. Depending on the visa type, the requirements also differ, but generally the required documents are as found here. So have you signed a work contract with your new employer? And do the actual working conditions correspond to the conditions stated on the visa application? Does your work experience and educational background coincide with the work you've applied for? And does your income fully support your living expenses in Japan? So let's talk about the documents that need to be submitted. If you're applying for a work visa for the first time, you will need to complete the application for the Certificate of Eligibility or the COE. So please complete all the documents as listed here. So first is your application form, second is your passport, and then your Japanese resume. You may also need to include the proof of identification like your ID with the picture attached, the certificate of sponsorship from your guarantor, and documents certifying academic background and work history, so like your diploma or your certificate of employment. You also need to submit documents containing information about your company, so the certified copy of the legal record total table, or your work or employment contract, financial statements, etc., and other documents certifying your residence in Japan. Please note that depending on the type of visa and your personal situation, additional documents may be asked of you. So now we'll talk about the submission of your application to the Immigration Bureau. So submit the prepared documents at the Immigration Bureau office and apply for the Certificate of Eligibility or the COE. So make sure to check all documents before the final submission. And then for the screening of application by the Immigration Services Agency of Japan, or the Immigration Bureau for short, the Immigration Bureau will examine and authorize all applications based on the submitted documents. Once the Certificate of Eligibility has been issued, the applicant can either bring it to the Japanese embassy or present it at the port of entry for the next visa procedure. Work visa applications are processed on a quarterly basis, so 4 times in a year. More information about the standard processing period for work visa applications can be found at the official Ministry of Justice website, which you can use as your personal reference when applying. So how long does it take to actually process your working visa? So the certificate, application for Certificate of Eligibility, change of visa status, or visa extension are the types of work visa applications. If in the case of application for the Certificate of Eligibility, as of 2019 January 1st to March 31st period, processing of work visa applications for the Certificate of Eligibility takes about 10 days for the shortest time period to 96 days, the longest for business and management visa applications, on average. While the processing time for the engineer, specialist in humanities, international services visa, these visas where most foreigners in Japan have, it takes about 33 days on average. If in the case of change of visa status, the processing time for the work visa change of status, for example, from student visa to working visa, or from instructor visa to engineer, specialist in humanities, international services visa, the shortest processing time is about 4 days on entertainment visa, while the technical training category 3 working visa takes as long as 72 days on average. The processing time for the mostly acquired working visa, or the engineer, specialist in humanities, international services visa, takes about 45 days on average. If in the case of visa renewal or extension, the shortest processing times for visa renewal or extension is 21 days for COE or caregiver visa, and the longest at 35 days for the technical training Category 3 visa on average. Here, the processing time for the engineer, specialist in humanities, international services visa takes about 25 days on average. So finally, we shall be explaining to you on the process of renewing or extending your working visa. So in the case if you did not switch jobs or your company or your role or industry, if you have not switched jobs or your role or your industry, a simple work visa renewal request would suffice. So the application form for extension of status of resident, as well as your most recent ID picture taken in the last 3 months, your passport, your resident card, so the original and photocopy, the latest residence tax or your tax exempted certification or your tax payment certificate. These are all the documents you need to complete and submit to the Immigration Bureau for your work visa renewal or extension request. If you have not switched jobs but have changes in your role as well as changes in your duties and responsibilities, then you need to apply for the Certificate of Authorized Employment. The Certificate for Authorized Employment is not a visa renewal and is done voluntarily. This certificate guarantees that you are allowed to work in the company you are planning to transfer to. If both roles fall under the same visa type, you can simply renew your visa when it expires. But if there is a change in the visa category, you need to make an application for change of residence, which we shall be discussing further. In most cases, the type of work visa can simply be renewed if there are no changes in the role or the roles fall under the same working visa category. For example, a career change between an ECAWA English teacher and a translator both fall under the engineer, specialist in humanities, and international services visa. Even though you have switched employers, simply a notification of change in contract period is required. This is not considered as a visa renewal but a procedure that must be done within 14 days of resignation from your previous company. If you have properly notified the changes, you can apply for a visa renewal when your visa expires. If you have changed jobs, position, and industry, you need to apply for an application for permission for a change of status of residence and not a visa renewal. So the application for change of status of residence application form, the withholding tax, which is issued by the company before changing jobs, the resignation certificate, which is also issued by the company before changing jobs, documents that show information about the job change, so the copy of the corporate registry, financial statement, etc., the copy of the employment contract, an essay which states your reason for changing jobs, your passport, your residence card, which are both original and the photocopies. So these are the documents you need to complete and submit to the Immigration Bureau. Please note, however, that your application will not be accepted if you do not have the suitable academic background and work history. This can also be a cause of a denied working visa. So when is the best time to apply for the work visa renewal or extension? It is recommended to file in your work visa renewal 3 months before your visa expires, particularly because you will not be receiving any notices or updates about your application, so it is better to familiarize yourself well with your new job and the company. And that's all for today on how to apply and renew your working visa in Japan. Were you able to understand everything? Depending on your ability as well as your credibility and your company's credibility, you can get a 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year visa. I recommend renewing your work visa 3 months before expiration. Just make sure to check the renewal conditions based on the condition types I have explained to you today. If you have any questions or video requests, something like, I want to know more about this, or tell me how to do this, tell me how to do that. For these kinds of types of videos, and you want to know more about these kinds of things, feel free to leave a message on the comment section below. Please like our videos and subscribe to our channel as we explore more ways to make foreigners' life in Japan easier. Until our next video, bye-bye!